I think to better understand veteran suicide, you have to know our tribe, but that's something that's easier said than done. Because although there is a shared military culture, a multitude of subcultures exist within it. For example, I know as much about being on an aircraft carrier as I do being a dentist, so in true aim small, miss small fashion, I guess I'll stick to the tribe that I know. We joined the military because we wanted to fight in a war. I rotated in and out of combat in an all-male airborne infantry unit. I should mention, with the exception of 2 women in 2012, who, for the record, I would fight next to anytime, any place. I think a lot of us grew up in the military. It raised us, it challenged us, and it ultimately forged who we would become. It gave us a purpose greater than ourselves. It wasn't just a job, it was our home, and although we accepted death, together we felt invincible. I think there's something primal that awakens in a culture of war. At times it can feel instinctual. You become reacquainted with the violence in our DNA. It doesn't feel foreign, just forgotten. The only thing that feels new is the tribe and the collective identity. Those to your left and right become an extension of yourself, and you trust them as you would your own hand. There's also an oxymoronic clarity in the fog of war. All that matters is killing your enemy before they kill your brothers. And no matter how hard you try, you'll never live as much in the present as you do when the rounds are cracking and thudding around you. You'll also never forget how it made you feel, how alive it made you feel, or who you felt it with, or who you lost to it, or their caskets under the flag. These moments form even stronger bonds between those who are already willing to die for each other. It's a tough job, and it creates tough individuals. At times, it's a painful job, both physically and emotionally, and it demands coping mechanisms. Alcohol, sex, bravado, they all live high on the list. And we collectively reinforce these behaviors for years, forging neural pathways as we build a culture with rough edges. And then one day you leave the military, and it's fun for a little bit. Until at some point you wake up to a silence that asks nothing of you. And when nothing's asked of you, you can start to forget what you're capable of. I'm not talking about the violence. You'll never forget that part. But you can start to forget that you're disciplined, you're focused, you're resilient. And as your identity begins to fragment, that void gets filled with guilt and anxiety and self-doubt. But you always remember who you were, and you grieve the death of that person. Many of us have heard the saying that it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. But when I was younger, I never thought about being in the garden. And I never imagined I'd be standing there without water or seeds, holding the wrong set of tools. When I came home, it felt like I was from a different time and place. Just trying to blend in was exhausting. I lived in a fog. I could never fully be present. I wanted to be, but I was only processing part of every conversation, and I was only feeling part of every emotion. Except grief. Grief has somehow always been an exception to the numbness. It felt like I'd built my own personal purgatory, and nobody understood me enough to help. Or at least I thought so. I was depressed, and I turned to my old coping mechanisms. At their best, they were a distraction. At their worst, they hurt the people I loved. I stopped looking forward to things. If I was sober, I found myself sad, lonely, exhausted. Even when I was around the people who loved me, I felt disconnected and frustrated. I wanted to share their joy. I tried my best to do it. But even when it would break through, it was just a muted echo of how I remembered happiness. Don't get me wrong, not every day was a bad day, and not even every month was a bad month. But when they were bad, I found myself looking for relief. And more than once, that relief looked like shooting myself in the head. The thoughts didn't usually last long. Sometimes I could laugh them off as irrational, but sometimes they were terrifying. As I would continue the thought process, though, I'd get hung up on how I'd be found and how my family would react. One of the biggest thoughts that always stuck with me, though, was that I'd be handing off my weight. Because our pain doesn't die with us, it amplifies and it ripples out. And I think for some of those who love us, it might just be the weight that sinks them. So with that in mind, I've unloaded my guns more than once. I wish I could tell you it's been years since I've had a thought like that, but that's not true. The difference is that I'm better at managing it now. I know for me it usually feels impulsive, and it really doesn't seem like a good idea for too long, so I'll go for a walk with my dogs, and when I get back, I unload the guns. I know that adding barriers lowers the likelihood of an attempt. And I know that my thoughts generally come clustered, so there's a good chance I'm going to think about it again sometime in the near future. These moments are getting fewer and farther between, and I feel like I'm getting more in control of them. I've gotten over a few of my hang-ups. One was with medication. I tried a couple. It was a process to figure out the right combination and dosage, but my doctor at the VA really made me feel like we were figuring it out together. He never told me I needed to take anything. It was really always my choice. And I think the medication helped me clear some of the fog. I actually still take one of them. I also have a great therapist. She helps me find the knots in my life and untie them. She's essentially a coach who pushes me and helps me improve the things that I tell her I want to improve. And at no point in my life have I been as happy as I am now. I think if you have a therapist and it doesn't feel like it's working for you like that, you should find a different one or ask for a new one, because I think it's important you find your people. All of this doesn't mean that things are perfect. At times, I feel like I'm a bad person. I've done plenty of things I regret. I'm messy. But I'm trying to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And in the darkest of those moments, a world without me can feel like a better world. And not waking up can sound like relief, and that can get loud. But eventually the thoughts quiet down, and I always find myself looking forward to tomorrow. There's no easy fix here. It requires unfolding and rebuilding. And I think you have to come to it with humility and honesty and trust. And you have to know it's going to take time. I think you need to remember what you're capable of, though. Challenge yourself. Finding happiness is no harder than what you've already been through. It just takes a different approach and a different set of tools. You can't water seeds with a grenade. You should be patient with yourself and others. Be open to new relationships. Let people help you, and in turn, you'll help others. And that's how you build a community. If you're drowning, the first step is reaching for a hand. And once you're in that boat and you help the next person up, you'll understand that the people on board need you as much as you needed them. If you need a hand but you feel like you can't find one, scan this QR code. Somebody will be in touch within a few days to help you navigate resources in your area. I'm not just talking about mental health, but benefits, education, employment, healthcare, housing, legal issues, and more. If you look for good people, you'll find them. And as always, if you're a veteran in crisis, and tomorrow feels more exhausting than today, or you just need to talk, call 988 and press 1, or text 838-255. Someone who understands what you're going through is there 24/7.